I go by LD, so just, from the fire department. I spent 41 years on Columbus, Ohio Fire Department and retired in 2017. So anyways, I'm going to try to show you some new things on this truck, get you guys familiar with it, and hopefully you can go through that. All right, anybody have an idea what this is? Okay, so raise the cab, but what else is it? Does anybody have a CDL driver's license? All right, so DOT's out there, they stop you, they check you. If they do stop you, it's a way to check your tires. So you get that little ping in there, you can check your tires. I don't know what your protocol is, Columbus is, we check them every Monday. So it's not every day. If you look at a DOT manual, DOT says you'll check them every day. You guys, I believe Florida is exempt from the DOT standards for driving these vehicles. So, but just remember that. How many pumps does it take? Who's the new boy here? Who's the newest? Okay, takes about 250 pumps to jack up the cab. The jack is located under the left front part of the fender. So that'll be your job to jack up the cab. Inside here, you're going to see data sheets. These data sheets will tell you how many gallons of antifreeze, how many gallons of oil, what type of oil, what's your belt number that you should use, how many gallons of fuel you have. Also, there's a number in here, it's called an HS number. That HS number stands for how many vehicles has been made. This one here is 7554. So this one here, 7,000 truck, it's been built. Say in 5 years from now you have a problem with the truck, the guys that designed the truck and had the truck built, they know who to call to get the information. But in 5 years, say they retire and they're gone and you need a part. You call them and say, hey, we bought this truck in 24, this is what we've got. At that point, when you call Sutphen's, they're going to say, we don't know what you want. It's going to take a while. Well, if you give them that number, they'll tell you exactly how many screws are in the door. So it's just a quick reference for them, and it'll help you get your parts a lot quicker. In here you have a regen switch and a inhibitor switch. What happens is your light will come on and say regen the truck 3 times. It used to be the trucks would go into a inhabited mode and your truck would slow down and you couldn't drive over 35. Well, they've eliminated that now. So now the regen light will keep coming on, but you should regen it. When you guys are on a fire scene, when you're doing your mop up, what's your truck doing? Your truck's sitting out on the street just idling. Go out, kick the fast idle up, let it idle fast. The public doesn't understand what you're doing, but if you're sitting out here at the firehouse and running it and trying to regen it, they still don't understand what we're doing. So hit the regen or hit the fast idle. It'll keep you from running in regen so often. All right, you guys have got Sutphen, so you know 90% of the switches are still the same. I've not looked at this one yet. You may have a windshield wiper that will, when your emergency brake is set, your windshield wipers quit. You're shaking your head yes, so you got that. So anytime you get something like your emergency lights, windshield wipers don't kick on when you first start the truck up, check your air brake. If your air brake goes off, they may come on, whatever it is. You do have a switch on the wipers that if you're parked and it's raining and you want your wipers on, you can hit that switch and it bypasses the brake. Okay. On your transmission shifter up there, you have your reverse and drive. You also have an up and down. Your up and down arrow, if your truck's sitting here, it's running, it's warm, you can hit the up and down button together and it'll give you a readout as to how much fluid's in your transmission, when it needs changed, or if it's in good condition, it'll tell you that. Let's see, what else you got? Your air brake, and then you got a PTO for your pump. I'm old school. What you do on your pump is you put your foot on the brake, make sure it's in neutral. You take it, flip your switch down to the middle, wait a second, and then switch it on down to pump gear. Put it in drive, keep your foot on the brake. Watch your speedometer. Your speedometer should move up to 5 to 10 mile an hour, and then it should stop, that's where it should set. It's safe to take your foot off the brake. If by chance the truck would surge, then you know that you're not in pump gear and you go back and repeat. When you go out of pump gear, put your foot on the brake, put it in neutral, look at your speedometer, watch it drop all the way to 0. Take your pump handle and move it up to the top, taking it back to the road gear. At that point, you should be in road gear. Up here on the top, you have another data sheet. The data sheet up there gives you your length and your height of your truck. I'm sure you don't have any low bridges down here, so you shouldn't have to worry about your height. You also have emergency switches up there. So you flip your emergency switch on, and then your lights, they come on quick, but they're in sequence. They come on an orderly mashing, but you can't see it. Over from that, you've got your heater controls in there, which down here you're going to need heater control, but your defrost is defrost only. It doesn't do any air condition. It does defrost only. Your heater control has your air condition, and it also has the heat control. I'm going to show you some valves. You should be able to close those valves, and I would imagine you guys would probably keep those closed most of the time. All right, let's go on around. The officer side, you have a black fill tube here, which is for your windshield wiper fluid. Behind this panel is all your electrical wiring. I suggest that firefighters do not get in there because we have a tendency of changing wires and not remembering where they go. But this is basically for your electronic people to look at and to set up the wiring on the trucks. I'm not going to go through every compartment because you guys are the ones that settle up, you know what's in it. Okay, we're still coming. Okay, is the truck safe to raise the cab? Has anybody looked inside to make sure that everything's secure in there? You have 2 switches here. You have a cab tilt and a cab tilt safety. What you do is go raising. What I usually do is get part way up and I stop and let it bounce. If there's anything loose, you may hear it shift a little bit. All right, it's all the way up. You flip the lock switch. You look down there in the right front corner and you'll see the safety latch going up. Now what you can do, you can lower the cab, let the cab rest on it. That way you know the lock is in position and it's not going to go anywhere. All right, I was just talking about the heater controls on this. That's what this manifold is here. You have you have 2 valves. One's for the rear heat and 2 valves for the defrost. Right now they're all closed. I don't know, do you guys use your defrost much down here? Okay. But all you do to open them is turn them quarter or a half a turn. Now they're open. Up on top in the silver container, that's your antifreeze. If you look right now, that's red antifreeze in the sight glass. Do not mix green with the red because you'd be flushing the whole system out. The back of the motor, you got a red dipstick. The red dipstick is for transmission fluid. That's so you can check it from inside the rear compartment there in the cab if you want to check it, or you can use the switches there on the shifter. On the other side, you have a yellow one. The yellow one's how to check your oil. Right beside that's a black cylinder. That black cylinder is for power steering fluid. You have a green or a yellow cap on the other side, which is also your fill for your oil. There's a blue cap, that's your DEF fill. I did not look to see if you can fill this without raising the cab, but it looks like you may have to raise the cab. In front of that, you also have a fuel filter. If by chance you're going down the road and you see the check engine light come on that says water and fuel, there's a drain valve on the bottom of that. You can open it up and drain it. You have two locks, they're cab locks. If you look, you'll see a pin on the outside of those cab locks. When this cab comes down, those pins will go in. You should be able to hear a real light click on it when they set. On the other side is a filter with a red plug in it, right where he's standing. Yep. That is for your hydraulic fluid. You should have got a adapter to connect into that to help you fill your hydraulic fluid if you're ever low on hydraulic fluid. You have a negative positive connector, so if you have to jump this, if you lose power and you need to jump it to get it started, you have a positive negative jumper there, or if you need to jump somebody. Now, as I say, you know, firemen like to mess with wires. We unhook wires to clean battery terminals, and a lot of times we'll forget how to put them back on. Well, Sutphen got smart, and they did the diagrams on the inside so we can all read pictures. So you can't say you can't read, because now you can read pictures. There you go. Coming down. Those two little clicks, that was the lock setting.
That's all air?
Yeah.
And that's the pin that goes in right there. You can see it.
Yes. Yeah, the pin's in. If you want to look, you can see that the pin is in there.
Right there?
Yeah, it's right back here.
Is it manual jack hydraulic?
Yeah, it's hydraulic. Yep, it's just like a bottle jack. You just sit there and keep jacking it until it goes up.
And that's got its own
little cylinder, yeah. If you guys look at this valve right here, the arrow, which way is that arrow pointing and what's that indicate? The valve is closed? You say it's closed? Well, you just saw it red on there. Actually, that valve is open. When he started designing these trucks, this handle used to be facing upward, so the valve would lay in line with the pipe. Fire department, fire service, that indicates it's closed. Well, it's just to let you know it is open on this. So that's something that they're looking at, trying to change that up there. But if you're going to run your hand line, you close this, open up your hand line, or extending a line up to, third or fourth floor. You can do that with the handle back here. I didn't look to see how many gallons per minute your nozzle is, but what's your gallonage on this? 15?
It's 2,000 pump.
Okay. So you're probably real close to flowing 2,000 gallons a minute. What's the maximum load range on your ladder? Dry, without flowing water.
750.
1,000. Should be 1,000. Some are 750, and it should say up there. Maximum, that's lifting. Yeah. I'll check it, but it should say on the side what the load capacity is. Most of them are 1,000.
1,000 pounds lift. Oh, that's lifting.
Okay.
1,000 pounds lifting on the.
No, it's nope. Your rings are only 500.
Yeah, 500 per race.
Yeah.
I don't see a on that plate for. It might be on the.
Your rings are 250, unless it says different.
It says 500.
For a ring,
Oh, 250 per eye. You're right. I was reading the
Yeah.
top. Sorry.
it's 250 per eye, so your maximum lift rate is 500.
Yeah, I was reading the top part.
If you go to lift straight up and down. Do not try to pull from right to left. It's not designed to go left to right. It is designed to go straight up and down. Do not rappel off the ladder. I recommend that you guys take some 1-inch webbing, make a loop in here, so it gives you a little bit of a handle, so when you put the pad down on the ground, you're not tearing your fingernails up to pick it up. So you got 1-inch webbing, you just reach down and grab that and pull it out. Okay, inside this compartment, this is basically the heart of the ladder, is setting all this up. Once you put the PTO in gear, and you know you're going to be setting the ladder up, it's basically self-taught, go left to right. Start out with the first, well, you can start out with the first two, bring them out, which is going to bring your outriggers out, bring them all the way out, go to the next two, set them down till your truck's pretty level. That's going to teeter-tot the truck. Your next one's going to be the front, which is going to take the front wheels off the ground. Just take the front wheels off the ground, then hit the rear ones, and when you raise the rear up, it's going to put the wheels back on the ground in the front. At that point, you got to put pins in your outriggers. You'll have an alarm going off until you do that. The best thing, the way I recommend doing it, is if there's two of you, have the guy on the other side put the pin in, and then when you put your pin in, the alarms go off and you know the pins are in, he's done. Always make sure that you watch the guy on the other side. If the outrigger's out, he's got the pad and you got a thumbs up or a thumbs down to make sure everything's safe and secure. You have a toggle switch here, it's underneath the red lock on it. What that does is that's the switch you use to put your hydraulic fluid back in if you got to add fluid. Your next one is, let's say you're at the station, you've used your hose load back there and you want to refill it. You can raise your ladder about 6 foot without putting the outriggers out. And that's what this, and when you hold that switch, it works like a door or like a garage door. It'll go up, and then when you re-hit it or you let go, it's going to stop. And when it gets to its 6 foot, you hit it again and it'll come back down. You have what they call the interlock override. So if you're going to short jack it, does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say short jack? All right. So if you're going to short jack it, say we're going to set the short jack on the other side, the person here's got to hold the button, and there's a button up at the top that you got to hold. Once your ladder comes out of the bed and it's up so far out, then you can let go of those buttons and you can operate the ladder to the right side of the truck or whatever side is not short jack. But if you're short jacked, it will not go that way. It will keep you from doing that. You have a high speed. You can hold that and get a high speed out of it. To be honest with you, when this thing is in one mode only, like letting the outriggers out, it runs fast enough. You really don't need a high speed. If you're extending the ladder, it really doesn't need a high speed. But if you're rotating the ladder, extending it, or rotating it. You can use the high speed, but it just heats, just hides up a little bit, not much. You have a upper power. To put power up here to run all the electronics, the safety devices, that switch has got to be on. So whenever you're going to operate this ladder, that switch should be on. Then you have your hour meter. That's how many hours is run for your aerial. The next one's an auxiliary motor. What that auxiliary motor does is, let's say you lose a hydraulic system on this, the pump goes out, your ladder's up, you got to get it put away. You can hold that for 10 minutes and get the ladder lowered, or get the hydraulic system, get the outriggers and everything put away. But hold it for 10 minutes, let it cool for 10 minutes, then hold it for another 10 minutes. Then you have what they call the PTO hour meter, and that tells you how long the PTO's been engaged. Any questions on any of this? When we get ready to raise the ladder, we'll go up there, or have one of you go up one at a time to raise it. But basically there's 3 controllers or 3 handles up there. It raises it out of the bed or lowers it. It's right and left, or it's up and or extended out and back. You should feather anything you're doing, you should feather it. One of the other things that's brought up is wheel chocks. You should use your wheel chocks. What I recommend is putting them back here on the back wheels, put one in front and one behind the wheel, keep them on like about a 40-degree angle so that part of the wheel chock is sticking out. The reason behind that is you've been working a fire, it's at nighttime, you're getting ready to leave, you're tired, you forget to take the wheel chocks up, the driver gets in, starts to get in, he looks back down along the side of his truck, which that's what we should do, but you do that, and that way you can see if the wheel chocks are there. Then you can pick up your wheel chocks. One of the things I didn't mention, but we're here. Whenever you're operating the ladder and you're operating the pump at the same time, the pump operator should be on this step. Okay, somebody want to start the truck up? Pardon?
That was these 2 right here?
Yeah.
Left and right, yep.
Okay, then the next one you do is you grab the next 2.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Tires off the ground?
Tires off the ground. Tires off the ground?
Yeah.
They come back down? All right, now I know it's secure. He's got his pin in, we got the pin in here. We should have a total of 6 jacks out. You got these 2, you got the 2 rear ones. Correction, it's 5. Our next step is to give ourselves power up on the top. All right, so I got power on the top. Now, if you happen to hear an alarm going off, it's what they call the cab crunch alarm. Anytime you're setting this ladder down and you start getting that alarm, stop doing what you're doing and think of what you just did and reverse it. Okay, there's your warning alarm. I cannot go any farther down right here.
Can you override it or no?
I can override it, but if that alarm's going off, you don't want to override it because you're going to crash something. right, that gives you an idea how far out you can go and how low you can go with it. Now, you can go out there and climb on that if you needed to. I'm just showing you how low you can go. If you're on a fire scene and he's standing over here talking to another chief, you can take this ladder and put it right over the top of him, and you can hear everything that they're saying. They can't hear you unless you push the talk button, but you can hear everything they're saying. Now that safety, if you shut the power switch off to up here, it won't work. You got to have the power switch on for that safety to be on.
You don't need the power to operate the ladder?
No. We're trying to change that. You also have an arrow up here that you line 2 arrows up when you're rotating this thing around. We didn't flow any water, so I'm not worried about the water in the system. Otherwise, if you've flown water, you open the drain up before you start doing any of that. If you wait on him to pull it, as soon as he pulls it, the alarm's going to go off. You reverse your pattern, so we know we started to the far, or we started at the left and went to the right. We ended on the right. We're going to start on the right. Okay, go ahead and shut it off. The other thing I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you guys heard, but what I would do is get some 1-inch webbing put around that, so when you bend down to pick it up, you're not tearing up your fingers. I was asked a question when I was down in California. We were setting up the ladder, almost the exact same truck, and the chief goes, I want a set of those pads for the rear jacks. So we called back to ask about it, and they said, no, you cannot do that because of grounding. That's where your ground goes through, is on those back jack pads. You could use aluminum jack pads, but the plastics you can't use. I'll tell you, I don't like playing with anything electronics. My kids say 3 things. I turn them on, turn them off, and I screw them up. And it doesn't have to be in that order. But you have a remote control. There's another one mounted up here on the top, and there's one mounted on the turntable. This is so you can change the nozzle on this. Whatever you do, the stow button, make sure that the ladder is retracted back before you hit the stow. We did one over in Pennsylvania, and the guys hit it while they were retracting it, and the nozzle went up and caught a rung. So try not to, try to remember not to hit that unless it's in this position. And it depends on you how you want to do it. I don't know what your department wants. Do they want the nozzle straight? Do they want it pointed down? Do they want it pointed up? It's hard to say. Just east of Cleveland, I did one last week, and the stow button puts it going straight out. It was a rear mount, so the nozzle sticks out the front, so they pointed the nozzle down. So it depends on what you want, how you want it. But this thing will go from straight stream, fog. Everything you want to change is right here. Any questions on this? Okay, like I said, you got 3 of them. So once you've got your ladder up and you got it positioned, you really don't need anybody up there on the top. The guy at the pump panel can control it all with this. So that's why
we added a camera on there so you can see if you're hitting what you think you're hitting.
Yeah.
Where's that monitor for that camera at?
I think it's up on the turntable.
There's one on the turntable, and then your camera inside the compartment should read that also. You just have to push a couple buttons and it'll get to that view. Cool. And your camera's mounted back here or up here on top. Any other questions?
All right.
Okay, that's it.
Make sure you're logging in Vector Solutions.